talking, right?
Sorry.
Okay.
I'll write up my notes from what Brian said, and I'm gonna go see if I can make the thing be nice on the screen while you speak.
So the most important thing for you all to know is that we named our PALS mascot last week on voting day. The kids all voted for to name the PALS Peacock Dash, because they don't dash. They sort of meander. And if you're like waiting in the middle of the street, they look up at you.
Perfect.
So anyway, we also most importantly won our basketball game against Muir last week. We are starting to gear up for our spring holiday concert in May. It will not be on a board day. And so I think we're looking at May 8th, which is a Wednesday. The kids have also been performing. They performed for the Willard Children's Center and then went over to Willard and did some performing. And they are all working on, we have practically like all of our students working through workability. And then we have, I want to say 17 kids going to PCC and all participate in community-based instruction. We are going to have this month, next week, we are going to have each of the high schools, Muir, Marshall, and PHS, that have extensive needs students transitioning next year to our PALS program. Each day a different student will come. Tuesday school will come to be able to visit the PALS program and visit and see the, and then on April 18th we will have open house, and that will be also open to all of the new students' parents.
Great.
So we are getting ready for next year, and while our new students are coming, they will be doing their workability application and their PCC application. So they will hit the road running at the beginning of the year.
Great. And Jamie, how many students do you have now? And then how many additional students are you expecting?
So right now we had about 36. We lost 7 at Christmas time. A couple, one student has gone to a different program. So I am currently at 28 students, but we are having 18 to 20 students transition into the program. And I keep getting requests from students that have graduated with diplomas that want to come. And so we may have to look at those and talk with Alma about evaluating all of those students individually as to whether or not they qualify, because if I get too many students, then I'm going to need another teacher too.
Got it. And so, typically it's you wouldn't be serving students who have received a diploma. You would be serving students who've like done the certificate path or something different.
Correct. The 11th and 12th graders this year will be doing the certificate of completion. And then the 10th graders and 9th graders, anyone younger than the 10th grade students this year, will that qualify to take the California Alternative Assessment will then qualify for the alternative diploma, which will look just like a regular diploma. And they will be taking core content classes in their special ed SDCs in order to fulfill the requirements for that.
Okay. And so that, and then those students who receive that alternative diploma would be able to continue into PALS, or would, okay, got it.
And it's specifically if they take the California Alternative Assessment.
Got it, okay.
Because that is the determining factor of whether they qualify for that, for the alternative diploma or a certificate of completion.
Okay, Kim?
So Jamie, is the alternative diploma where they have to take the state graduation requirements rather than ours? Is it the smaller number of courses, but they still need to fulfill the full content?
Correct. So rather than doing the, first of all, rather than doing the complete standards, spec standards, they have to complete curriculum that has the core content connectors. And the core content connectors are sort of, they're all based on the Common Core standards, but they're a little bit easier. So, they, you know, you have to create a one-page resume with 3 different jobs. Well, you would create your resume in a template with 2 jobs. You know, so this will be a modified curriculum, and we are implementing, I don't know if you want me to go through this all, but we can talk. We are starting to implement a program called Teach Town, which has all 4 content areas to be able to teach. Those core content connectors, it is all aligned to it. And if a student goes through the 4-year program, they will have all the content in high school. And then next year we're using it in the transition program. We're adding it in the high school program. And then next year, we will be adding the junior high. And so the next year we hope to add the elementary program. So so then everybody will.
So it becomes like a complete pathway then to serve those students who require that modified curriculum.
Yes, in the 4 content areas. And then they'll still have their functional academics, their transition skills, and all of that. And then come to the transition program as adults.
Got it. Did you have a question, Jennifer?
I did, but it was answered.
We got it. Perfect. Thank you. Judy?
I just want to say what a breath of fresh air it is to have Jamie back on the PALS team, where she belongs, where she does such an outstanding job. Thank you, Jamie, for being willing to step up and do that.
Thank you, Judy.
I love you. You know that.
I know, Judy.
Such a machine.
We go way, way back.
Okay, great. Awesome, thank you. Sierra, do you want to tell us any updates from CYFC?
Well, we're continually working with the students and they're thriving and we're thriving. Sad to kind of hear the news of the cuts, but I'm sure there'll be greater in store in regards to that, if that's even possible. But the latest update I would have to say is that I do know that Pasadena will be going to the FOSS Summit from the 14th through the 16th, and so CYFC will be present as well with a multitude of our students, and so we're super excited about that.
And where is that? What is that event?
I believe is going to be Sacramento, if I'm not mistaken, where the capital is.
Okay. And do you know how many of our schools are you serving now, and do you have a sense of what next year might look like from your program's perspective?
As of right now, I can't give you an exact number. Yeah, I do know that we have city, we have John Muir, we have Pasadena High. Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
But I will definitely get that. I do know those are the pretty strong ones we have right now.
okay,
In regards to next year, we're just hoping to continue to bring more awareness to our program,
Mhm.
increase the enrollment, beyond what it is. And which we're doing okay so far, but we just want to continuously push ourselves out there and of course make the larger.
okay. Thank you. And then, Eric, are you gonna give us an update from the special education department?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Hello. No, you're welcome. Thank you, everyone. So a couple of things happening with the special education department. So the department, in collaboration with a consulting group called Ascendancy Solutions,
Mhm.
and then partnered up with the district. So what the department is doing what's called special education file review. The purpose of this review is to come up with solutions and ideas from all parties on how to improve the department, how to deliver our services, and how to keep our staff. How that's happening is that the consulting group, along with the department, will randomly pick 200 files. Those files will be divided among focus groups. These focus groups include parents, students, service providers, special education staff, school coaches, school principals, school nurses, um, and anyone in the community that's willing to do it. They have already give us a name. So those people that are participating, there is dates already scheduled for the beginning process of the review. We had one this Monday. I mean, this past Monday. We are going to have another meeting this Friday, and then there's 2 other dates where we're going to meet. After everything is reviewed and the process is completed, then the consulting group will report the results to the superintendent.
Okay.
And I think Ryan had an update in terms of the extended school this year.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
I wanted to update everyone on ESY and kind of give the details
Great.
about that. I'm going to actually put the details in the chat, so
Okay,
they can
perfect.
make note of that. But we just had an email go out. Clara sent out an email. The ESY dates are July 6th through 11th. The school locations will be Hamilton and Hamilton Elementary and Wilson Middle School. The deadline is April 19th, and applications received after the deadline may cause delays with transportation. And so the key here is that at group homes, each individual student needs to have an application in. So if you're a group home can't apply for a group of students. Okay, so each application needs one
And
student.
is that something, Brian, that your team might be able to help support? Because I know that was challenging for all of our STRTB staff to make sure that everyone was enrolled last year.
Yeah, for sure. That's on our radar.
Great.
And then I can also put I'm going to put the Google form in the chat too as well. It just so
Great.
that it's there and noted. And so, yeah, so the application through the Google form makes it easier. I don't believe that as far as I remember Clara saying yesterday, I believe that it's only going to be through the Google form. So the paper ones we won't be using. I think this just help organize this a little bit better. But yeah, that's the update I wanted to provide today.
Awesome. And I know sorry, go ahead, Judy.
I just want you guys to all know, Eric in particular, we're seeing huge problems with the ESY and kids who definitely deserve to be in ESY denied. I'm sure that's not true of PUSD, but I just want it to be on the table that there are many kids out there who qualify for ESY and definitely deserve to have that service in the summer, which benefits them greatly if the program is one that is well put together. Thank you.
Eric, there's a question in the chat, Eric Trejo. Do parents have the choice if they don't want their kiddo to be a part of the review? The special ed review, the student file review? So you want
Sorry,
to talk to that?
I missed the first part of your question.
This is from Elizabeth N. Do the parents have a choice if they don't want their kiddo to be a part of the file review?
No, because there's no names that are going to be used in the files. They are going to be looking at the services, assessments, and how they were determined. I believe there's no names that are going to be provided or used. They're looking mainly at procedures, services, deliberation, deadlines to make sure that we meet the deadlines. So we don't, I mean, we have the 200 files already set up, but we don't have the names.
Okay, because there's also a lot of personal information for our youth in foster care that we might not, that might make them identifiable. And so that's something that we have to be particularly aware of, I think,
Right.
because we have exceptional privacy concerns for some of our kids. Thanks for that question, Elizabeth. Since we have Mr. Dahlstrom here, I know you're working with the CARE program. Can you give us an update on how that's going this year?
Yeah, I feel like the CARE program has been going really well. I think if you look at a lot of our data, I sent the board as well as the superintendent in a kind of mid-year review of how things have been going. I think that we've worked hard to make sure that students are in the right place as far as their placement's concerned. There's a lot of success stories that we're having, and then I've really worked closely with the group homes and have been able to build bridges with just like their liaisons, and also it's been nice to work with Brian Stanley's team. Lillian has been tremendous in just kind of helping me, and then another young lady in on his team, Angela, worked her tail off the other day finding housing for one of our 18-year-olds who was basically homeless. And so I think that like the collaboration across the district with these different departments is essential, so that it does hurt. It is very much something in which I'm grieving hearing what Brian shared about the cuts. I just think to be able to help these students the best we possibly can, we have to throw everything we can at their situation as far as the support is concerned. So yeah, I think that it's been I think we're just building the groundwork for the program moving forward, and I'm pleasantly surprised about how things have been going.
And how many students total do you serve in the CARE program?
Yeah, so that's kind of been a rotating number, but I can give
I'm
you
sure it moves around.
yes. So let me give you the update. I have I could pull up, I have the roster right here. So at the moment, right now we have 7 in 2nd through 5th grade. We have 11 in middle school, and then in high school we have 12.
Okay.
And yeah, and then there's a few students in high school that we have in home hospital, and so those are kind of technically under our care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Making this Great. I think that's all the special education updates.
Hey, Lily,
Sure,
can I say one thing?
yes, of course.
Well, I want to call out Jeff Albert. And thank you for his help. And, he's working with actually one of our staff members to develop an incentive program for youth in foster care, really for coming to school and getting good grades and things like that. So I wonder if he'd be willing to, I can't see him, but willing to speak about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been working with James, and we're starting a pilot program with the middle schoolers that are in foster care. And what we're doing is sort of a tiered incentive program for rewarding them for their inputs, not outputs. So making an effort, coming to class, turning in homework. And he'll be working with them on an individual basis to help them determine their goals. And then the rewards will also, they'll have input on to what they're working towards. So first couple will be like food-based, and we'll go into like gift cards or things like that. So sort of a tiered system, and sitting down so they can help set their goals on what they want to try to work towards. And then as they work towards it, then they'll get small rewards.
And is that coordinated with their their caregivers and social workers and their foster care plans?
I think so, and I'm not sure on his end, the specifics. I believe what he's doing for the start, since we're nearing the end of the school year, is he's working with their teachers and them, so it's more class-based.
Okay.
What we're hoping is we can get some kind of data from this pilot program so that I can apply for grants, so we can expand it to middle school and high school, and then figure out how we can adapt it towards elementary school.
Got it.
And hopefully expand it beyond the classroom.
Cool. Yeah, I would just encourage collaboration with the whole professional team that surrounds each of these kids, because I know for my child, like there's a point at which he's like, I got goals, I got IEP goals, I got case plan goals, I got therapy goals, I got goals. And I don't care about any of them.
Right.
So if there is coordination, then I think it can be really, really valuable, because that allows us all to be kind of working towards the same outcomes. So that there's kind of a more meaningful through line.
Gotcha.
Because I know that that's something I've definitely observed in my own kid, is he's like, I just got this gift card for whatever, and I'm like, I don't know what you did, but you ain't done your homework, so what's happening, my guy? Sit down, we're doing math now.
No, that's great. But yeah, I would definitely love to come back after like a month or so and share what
And
we've
see where we
learned.
are. Great.
And then see how we can expand this, because really what we want to do is figure out what's working, what's not working with a small group.
Great.
This year, and then expand it next year. Hopefully staff will be in place to be able to help support this. So
great.
But yeah, I really appreciate that.
Thank you for jumping on board. Cool. Let's see what else I have. Oh, it's time for my slides that I made of data. How exciting. So I did want us to take a look at some of our PUSD data, especially because we're going into our next LCAP consultation. So I made slides, and thank you so much to everybody who helped me pull things, because it was a journey. In like 3 days. So I am gonna go ahead. Oh, no, not on the screen, thank you. I'll drop the link to the slide deck in the chat as well, for anybody who would like to pull up and poke around it individually. And then let me just screen share the part of the screen that I care about. Not it. Look around with my meeting things. All right, great. It's so wild that I can see both sides. Yeah, the on the screen side, I can see what it looks like out there. That's very convenient, different normal life. Okay, great. So our first slide here, and I'm now remembering to last year when I did this and my computer died while I was presenting this, which just makes it very difficult to talk about the slides. My first slide here, Kim Kenny puts together dashboards with all of our sort of top line data. And so this is part of the data set from last school year, much of which was just released a couple of months ago in the California dashboard. So these are sort of our overall metrics. Our enrollment continues to go down. This is census day enrollment, so it isn't reflecting all of our students that are moving in and out, and I'll look at school stability data a little bit later. So this is just who was here on October, whatever is census day. So I think it's likely this will continue at about 160 or in the 150, 160 this year. It may be even a little bit lower when we look at that actual census data when it comes through systems where I can look at it and see it. We do have sort of the same breakdown by grade span that's just becoming a shrinking line towards the same end. We break down our foster youth by student group. And so a little bit more than half of our foster youth in PUSD are also special education students. Some of those are English learners, right? And so that's what this sort of pie chart is looking at. And then we have our foster youth by ethnicity. Like all of our students in PUSD, we are majority Hispanic, but the one to have some awareness of, especially as we look forward through the rest of the data in the deck, is that our African American students are overrepresented amongst foster youth, which is historically the case because thank you, systemic racism. So in PUSD as a whole, our African American students are about 10% of our student population, and in our foster youth, that's 25%. And that is then reflected out through other data that you see as you look through some of our other key indicators. So it looks like our test scores are, I mean, they continue to be very low. And that's not a huge surprise, just because of the fact that every time a student moves from one school to another, we can expect about 4 months of learning loss. And so our kids move a lot, and that makes it very difficult to maintain that educational continuity. It does look like we made gains last year in terms of reducing the chronic absenteeism, which is great. And which I know was a big focus of the youth and foster care team last year as well. And our suspension rates are declining, which I think is great. Although we do still have work to do because we're still pretty significantly higher than any of our other subgroups. So that is sort of the overview. There's also all of this on the California dashboard to look at, and that was what I pulled from our second slide. There are new placement reports. I don't know, there are not a lot of people who spend time hanging out on the California dashboard, but I'm one of them. And so there are a whole new set of reports that are now visible this year. And some of that I think was also because of the pause that happened during the pandemic. We were waiting for data to catch up in order to be able to do this kind of a placement chart. So green is good and red is bad, as is to be expected. And this specific report breaks out information by student groups. Many of the other available reports are going to place student groups within different bands, depending on which category we're looking at. So our foster youth, which we knew from our previous slide, are struggling in their academic subjects, and in graduation rate. It looks like we do have some improvement in suspension rate, which is great. And we're still a little bit below in terms of being able to manage chronic absenteeism. And so that's what that chart is telling us. And it's also showing us sort of where the other highest areas of need are within our district, in terms of groups that are specifically our groups that are unduplicated students that are counting towards our supplemental and concentration funding. So as we're looking at the LCAP, this is kind of helping us to see what we want to focus on. I also pulled demographics out. So these are just some more specific numbers, based on that little wheel, from Kim. And so you can sort of see these percentages are how those populations fit into our overall district. And then this is how our foster youth group breaks down. Our foster youth as a percentage of total school population has also dropped in the last year as our count has gone down. So I think our percentage out of the whole school population is now 1.2%. It was 1.5 previously, and even a little bit higher than that. So I'm not entirely sure what that is saying in terms of how kids are being placed here. I'm imagining that there is some flux that is happening around the available beds in our STRTP facilities that may change again as the county continues to need to find placement for kids and push back against the sort of elimination of group homes problem. So that may or may not be something that continues here. And then I pulled our school stability rate, which has also improved slightly. Some of that may also be pandemic related, although there was a pretty significant decrease in instability during the pandemic because of distance learning. I know that happened with my kiddo, where he was able to stay in his middle school, even though he changed home placements all over LA County and actually into San Bernardino County. He was able to stay at his school because it was online. So we do still have an almost upside down. I mean, it's not as bad as it was last year, in terms of school stability, right? So that means a lot more as a percentage of our kids, a lot more of our kids are moving over the course of each school year. And we have some specific data from Brian's team about that too this year. I also pulled the details of our 19.9 suspension rate, and then pulled some overlaps. So overall in our district, our suspension rate for African American students has really come down. But when we overlap that Venn diagram with our kids in foster care, we're still on the struggle bus pretty hard. And especially once we start talking about our kids who also have disabilities. So those are things that I think we can try and support from all directions, both like through their IEPs and then also in terms of our continued advocacy for the adequate supports. Something I have heard from one of our STRTPs, and something that I think we should talk about and consider recommending, is that because of the logistical requirements, it can be difficult sometimes for them to actually access the alternative to suspension program without support from transportation, right? So if their kids normally receive special education transportation and then they have to try and figure out how to get them to the alternative to suspension program, they may not be accessing that ATS as much as they could if we had a way to help get the students to that program. So that's something that I think might make a difference in terms of actually utilizing that program more for our kids in foster care. Yes, Jamie.
Could somehow we get, through the foster care programs, grants, whatever, some, Uber vouchers
Most of
to
the
go
time,
to and
our
from?
most of the time we use, oh my gosh, why is it not in my brain right now?
Hop, skip, drive.
Hop, skip, drive.
Skip,
Thank you,
drive.
Brian. Yes, usually that, because they're contracted with DCFS as well. And because we can't put our kids in, we have extraordinary licensing requirements in terms, like when I was
No,
licensed
I
through
meant
an
for them to
agency.
go with their parent and then
Well,
with
this
their
is not,
parent in
these
the
are
car.
kids who are living in
Yeah,
an
but
agency.
I use Hop Skip Drive for my homeless transition student too.
Yeah, so these are students who are living in an STRTP, so they don't have a parent or educational rights holder on site who is able to manage their transportation. And they receive special education transportation to get to school most of the time, I think. So I think that's where it becomes kind of a logistical nightmare for them to be able to get their kids to not even their regular school site, but the alternative suspension site. So I think that's something that may help with utilization for those students in particular.
That's a great point, Lily. We'll definitely look into that more. One thing I will say is we just got an update today that Hop Skip Drive will be transporting students to after school events as well as sporting events on the weekends. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
wow.
So that's going to begin immediately.
That's great. Thank you, Brian. That's so good. That makes a huge difference in terms of actually being able to participate. Cool. Judy?
Yeah, Brian, does that apply to kids staying for after school services for programs after school where they can get additional help where parents won't be able to come pick them up? Do you understand what I'm asking?
I believe so. Yeah. So it'd be for after school activities, after school sporting events, any of those activities that they're involved with after school and on weekends as well.
Oh, that
That's
is fabulous.
Mm-hmm. That makes it makes such a difference because we know the extent to which participation in those things is what connects our kids to want to come to school. So that's really great. Thank you. Yay. Excellent news. Cool. Let's see, what else do I have in my fun slide deck? So I did get some current year data from Lillian and Brian. We have this year a cumulative count of 220 so far. Last year our cumulative count was like 270, so that is a little bit lower overall, although we are not done. There are more months of the school year to keep accumulating a cumulative count. And then this is new information that I think is really helpful as we look at the kinds of programs that we're building. And that is those 220 students break out into 126 that are in a kinship or foster family home, and then 94 who are in STRTP or a congregate care setting. I don't have an exact number about how many students joined our district this year, but we have also had 72 students who have already left out of that 220. And so each of those represents a whole records transfer back out of Pasadena Unified, in addition to the ones that are entering in a sort of revolving door. And we also have some data that of those students entering and exiting, we've also facilitated 28 best interest determination meetings, which is a really great thing that we're able to support our kids with. I see raised hands, but I think it was from the previous conversation. Is that true? Don't want to miss anybody. Yeah, cool. And then the other piece of information that I had asked about, and I think that this is current, but was sort of how we break out our special education students, and where those students are placed within the spectrum of placement options. And so we have right now 61, which is a drop from previous years. Last year we had about 90. Right now we have 61. And this is sort of the way that where those students are living within the spectrum of options for placement. I know we've discussed it a little bit in some of our previous meetings. The spectrum of placement options. One of the most challenging students to place is our kids who come in with an IEP that designates them for a non-public school, because it can be hard to find an NPS that can accept their IEP and that has space for them. So that's been a challenge, like an ongoing challenge this year. But I think that we have found some better ways of supporting those students until they're able to be placed, from what I'm understanding. So that is, and this is also much more detailed than we've had before in terms of looking at data. So I very much appreciate the support of the special education department, and sort of helping me understand who our kids are, and how we're helping them across all of our campuses. So that was my fun slides. Any other thoughts?
I think to your point, Lynette, so, you know, we are having a challenge of placing students in non-public schools. So the CARE program is actually picking up a lot of those students right now until they can find an NPS placement so that they're at least enrolled in a school while still looking for an NPS. I think, you know, that's one of the changes that the CARE program is dealing with this year, right? So there are students coming in and out in that way who aren't necessarily a candidate for the CARE program, what they need
the best fit for that specific
so
setting.
that's definitely challenging that the CARE program is having this year.
Well, and that was something that I think we anticipated last year when Focus Point was folded in, because Focus Point had been meeting that need as well previously. So we knew that there would be a little bit of a bump there, just trying to keep that immediate enrollment happening when we have some kids that are just really challenging to place. Great. Okay, I'm gonna stop my screen share. Cool. Someone just crashed a skateboard out there, having fun in what's left of the daylight. It's dark. It's dark out there now, but they don't care. They're fine. Okay. Great. So let me just hop back over to my agenda. Wow, I am actually on time. This is insane.
Here, talk to your daughter.
Okay, so we do have so next on my agenda is committee updates. All of the other committees that we have floating around. So the big one this week is the LCAP PAC. So I don't have much detail right now, but we do have our LCAP consultation meeting on the 21st. And that will be a discussion with Robert Hernandez and the team in the district office about how our LCAP goals may be supported in the future. So that is a place where I know I will be advocating to continue some of the supports that we've included this in the last couple of cycles. The foster youth goal in the LCAP is broken out into a couple of different actions. The first one is it's named Foster Youth Therapeutic Services, but it's a special education funding line, which I don't know that I fully understand. I don't know if any of my special education team knows budget information about how the LCAP is. It's a little obscure. So that's something that I'm still looking for some clarity on. Yes, Judy?
I think there are grave concerns over the LCAP special ed dollars and exactly how much those special ed dollars are and who they are serving. Basically, it seems to me that the foster youth special ed students could benefit from that, as well as the English language, special ed English language learners. And I think there needs to be more clarity as to how much that money is and how it is utilized and what the direction for it is. And there needs to be transparency as to how that money is being used. It's very disturbing to watch the LCAP meetings and know that money is there, but basically nobody's talking about it, particularly as to what is actually happening with it. So that's my input on that.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, I know that prior to last year, LCAP 6.1, which is that foster youth therapeutic services, more of it was coming out of S&C, which is the supplemental and compensation funding that is designated for those underdepleted students. I think that it moved back to base, or at least a chunk of that funding moved back to base. It's too bad Kim's not here. She knows all of this in her brain. So some of that funding, I believe, moved back to base for those special education programs. I know that previously it was pretty clearly directed towards funding Focus Point. But then what happened last year is a bit of a mystery to me. There's a line in the LCAP that's $65,000 for transportation, which I know is an MOU that is with DCFS, I believe. I don't know if that's true, right? If you know that one, Brian. And then there's another line that was foster youth services that last year folded in to include mental health counselors in a way that didn't make any sense to me. So I think that the overall structure of 6.1, the funding and the components of that goal, I'm hoping we'll be able to clarify in this new LCAP round this year. I'm hoping, we'll see. But that'll be something that I'm definitely gonna ask about.
Eric, do you understand what we're talking about? Eric?
Yes.
You do? Okay. We have been at this for a very long time. So I think there has to be more clarification from special ed as to exactly what those dollars are going for. I'm not putting you on the spot, but from someplace, sorry.
Right. No, I understand. I mean, we can give you that information, but I don't have that information here, and
Right.
I don't think how it can be provided to the committee here, but I can definitely look into it.
I didn't mean for you to have the information tonight. I just wanted you to be aware of the importance of what's going on with that money, because it is special ed dollars.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, and that's something I will also follow up with Alma about after this meeting too, and also of course with Mr. Hernandez as he's sort of looking into our LCAP and the structure of it. There's still some mystery right now in terms of how goals will be in the future. There was a change in the law that means that we were added, foster youth was added as a goal as a requirement due to consistent low performance. And so that law has now gone away. So it is possible that the district could decide not to include these separate goals for our foster youth, our homeless students, and our English learners. From what I'm hearing, it seems likely that we will continue those goals. And I also know that the Black Student and Family Task Force is interested in having an LCAP goal that's targeting the needs of their students who are also underperforming everybody else's as you look at the different breakdowns that are available. So those are things that are still somewhat unknown, but hopefully will become clearer in the next few weeks. And I'm gonna put together something to share with Dr. Hernandez, and then I will also bring back whatever information comes out of that LCAP consultation next week to this committee, and also anything that comes up in the LCAP pack, as hopefully we will have some sort of a working draft to respond to in the soon part of the timeline. We'll see. But I will, in all of those conversations, be sure, like, emphasize the fact that the LCAP does call out foster youth as a targeted group, and that we are indicated as a group that drives those supplemental and concentration fund dollars. And so I hope that we will continue to provide specialized services with the support and knowledge of the specific educational rights and needs of our kids as a centerpiece of what we are using our supplemental and concentration funding to do, because that's where it came from. So let's fold it back in that direction if we can. Okay, do I have other things? Let's see. I didn't go to the Roadmap Advisory Council, and I don't think anybody else on this call at the most recent Roadmap Advisory Council meeting. I couldn't go. They scheduled it when I was in class. I can't go during class. I gotta teach people how to paint. Mostly how to wash your brush. There's a lot of wash your brush. These are college students, but still, wash your brush. This is why we can't have nice things. That's my life. So I wasn't able to make the more recent meeting, so I don't have any significant updates on that front. I was able to go to the beginning of the Black Student and Family Task Force town hall over the weekend, which was, the performances were amazing as always. Makes me feel like I should have more kids come do shows, because then everyone will come to my meeting. I was saying that to Scott Harden, who runs the LCAP pack. I was like, I think we need more shows. We need more dances about the LCAP. Otherwise, people don't want to hang out with us. We're boring. We talk about data. So that was a really wonderful event over the weekend. And they put together a recommendation, and it sounds like what they are interested in to support our Black students in the district is a director for Black student success, and that would be a district office position, and then a Pan-African Studies program that would sort of be an integrated track in digital media and storytelling, which sounds really amazing and cool, and which I really hope they will be able to include our kids as well, if that program is launched. That'll be something that I really would advocate to make sure that they have a way to include, especially our kids in STRTP who may not have access to that kind of extracurricular or supplemental educational activity. So that all sounded amazing. Anybody else have any fun committees? I go to all the committees. It's just me. We wrote some bylaws, the LCAP pack, that was fun. Great. Announcements. We're here at announcements, almost exactly on time. So our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 9th, and that'll be 11 a.m. to noon, which is a slight adjustment from the original calendar, but it is a little easier for me schedule wise. So I've switched it to 11 to noon on April 9th. That'll be a virtual meeting on Zoom. And I'm gonna try and send out the reminder a little bit early and the calendar invite a little bit earlier for that meeting.
When did you say the time moved to?
11 to 12
11.
instead of 11:30 to 12 or 1 or whatever it used to be. We'll just do an hour. That'll be enough of Zooms for April. Hopefully we'll have some more information about the LCAP stuff by then. There is a virtual conference happening this week with Disability Rights California about advocacy that I wanted to share because I thought it was great. It's also accessible, like it's virtual, which is great. And it's not an all-day thing. It's a session in the morning and a session in the evening. We're right in the middle of it. So they do have sessions tomorrow and one session on Thursday, but tomorrow is regional center and regional center self-determination. So that may be useful to some of our partners as well. So I'll just drop that link in the chat. And I saw the Family and Community Engagement Office reposted that on the Instagram. Thank you. Yeah, no, sometimes I run into things where I'm like, oh, this would be good for everyone. Yeah. A really valuable resource. Do we have any other announcements from community partners today? I don't know that we have a lot of outside folks besides. Do you have anything fun going on? Science Fest. Y'all have to go to Science Fest.
Be there.
It's on Saturday. Is it Muir?
John
Yeah.
Muir.
Yeah.
Here.
Noon. John Muir.
It looks like Judy has her hand up.
Yes, go ahead, Judy.
Ryan, I just wanted to suggest to you, you have foster youth that are regional center clients.
Yes.
And right. And so some of those presentations on Disability Rights California, which is California's protection and advocacy, every state has a protection and advocacy. And the State Council on Developmental Disabilities also provides online trainings, which actually would be free and might benefit your staff if you look into when those are available.
Great.
Okay.
I appreciate you highlighting that for me.
Okay, Disability Rights California and the State Council on Developmental Disabilities Los Angeles office.
Okay, I just pulled up the link that was in the chat too as well, so I have that up in front of me at the moment. Thank you.
Right, utilize it. It's there and it's free.
And they do so much. They do so much.
Thank you.
And I look at their resources all the time, just to figure out what the rules are. Even just to figure out what the rules are. Cool. Anything else announcements wise?
I have our
upcoming
events from the Family and Community Engagement Office. I have a few flyers that I'll go ahead and drop in the chat. So they're a little bit more easily accessible, but just to go over them, we do have our Parent Leaders Network meeting next Tuesday morning at Franklin Elementary at 9 a.m. I like to describe it as a great intro for any parents who just want to get more accustomed with how navigating or how PUSD is navigated. Next week, we also have our intro to middle school for any 5th grade families that might need a little bit of guidance or support making that transition. We are offering that. And I do also want to extend the invitation. I know some of you on this call may have already received an email invite on behalf of our CAC family group, our community, sorry. the acronym is
Community Advisory Committee.
Community Advisory Committee.
Yes.
I was just looking at the flyer, but I did go ahead and share the save to date. We've been working with Miss Jamie Monroe as well, in our special education department with Miss Elma to offer a resource fair for really gearing towards our students with IEPs overall, from early childhood to high school transitions, but also kind of providing overall resources that would be applicable to all families. So again, I did send out an invite to a few of you. If you are able to table at the event and offer any resources or services that you may be applicable to those with IEPs or overall, please do feel free to contact me, and we would love to confirm your reservation provided for the families. Cool. That's all we have coming up.
Thank you. I owe you an email in response to that email.
Thank you, Jasmine, for advertising that as well.
Yeah,
No
I-
well, and I could use all of that stuff I got last year, but have had no events to set up my fun table and my pop-up tent and like what all
I
that
will
fun,
confirm you.
all that fun equipment that's sitting in my garage, avoiding the spiders, definitely avoiding the
Let's put
spiders.
it to use.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. Great. I think that is it for our meeting. I have future agenda items, but I don't know that there's anything in particular that's coming to mind for me. And then a public comment if anyone has anything else to add. Otherwise we can wrap up our meeting tonight.
I would just like to thank you, Lily, for doing such a wonderful job of being the chair of this committee, because you took on a whole lot when you did that, okay? And
Thank
you
you.
have done a wonderful job.
Just keep swimming. Just try and get that agenda out for 72 hours notice, man. Thank you, Judy. And thank you everyone for being here this evening. It's really great to see you all, and I really appreciate all of your advocacy for our kids. Let's go ahead and adjourn this evening's meeting of the Foster Youth Council. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye,
Thank you. It was a
Ryan.
pleasure being here. Bye.
Zoom. Okay. I know, right? I'm gonna go ahead and end our meeting. Yeah. Okay.